Hello and welcome to the Jason Boull Travel podcast. Today we are going to give you an ultimate overview of cruising for first timers. So if you're thinking of cruising for the first time, you've probably heard your friends talking about cruises. You've probably seen it on TV with some awesome kind of cruise shows we have on at the moment. And you see that they are a great way to travel and see the world. And you're probably thinking, you don't know if it's for you, it's a big commitment, it's a big holiday, you're not quite sure if you want to be stuck on board a ship, and you want to make sure that you're going to get the right advice. The best way for you to get the right advice is to speak to a CLIA accredited cruise expert. So CLIA is the industry trade body, and it advises cruise and travel professionals on the best way to represent cruise, to sell cruise, and make sure that everyone's going to get a great deal when they're booking cruise. So make sure that you're taking any advice off a CLIA accredited cruise expert. And guess what? I'm a CLIA accredited cruise expert, so I'm absolutely able to help you with those, as you'd expect. So first of all, benefits of a cruise. You're going to wake up in a new destination every day. And we say new destination every day, it's not always a new destination every day. Sometimes you might have sea days, other times you might be in the same port overnight, but generally, as a rule of thumb, you're going to be waking up in a new destination, a new country or port, kind of every day. You're only going to unpack once and be able to see the whole of the world in that one trip. You're going to have an all-in-one holiday. Food, fun, entertainment, and all the travel that you need. And it is great value for money. You get so much more involved in a cruise that you would on a standard land holiday. And we're going to have a look in a bit more detail as to what comes in part of those cruises. So is cruising right for you? The answer is probably almost certainly yes. Cruises are great for families. You're going to have kids clubs on board. You've got family adapted cabins. You have loads and loads of activities on board, from water slides, bumper cars, loads of entertainment for kids, specific entertainment, kids clubs. You're going to have babysitting facilities on board. Different cruise lines will offer different range of facilities, but they are a great place for the whole family to go. The youngsters can go off and go and do their things, and the parents and family and friends can go and do theirs. So it's a fantastic way to be able to keep everybody happy in the same family. It even works really well for multi-generational families as well. So it's a great place for couples to go. You'll have romantic dining, you have spas, all the pampering time that you want. You'll have quiet zones, and you'll even have adult-only areas on ships that might otherwise have kids on them. Cruises are also great for solo travelers. You'll have solo cabins, you'll have specifically hosted solo events where you can meet like-minded people who want to get out and see the world, but maybe don't have anyone else back home who want to go and do it with them. There's a really friendly kind of social vibe on board. Cruises are also great for older travelers. You can have nice relaxed paces with lots of engaging cultural content on board, from learning to cook, enrichment talks, really kind of explore and deep dive in a different way that's tailored for older travelers. Cruises are great for groups and friends. You can go away as one large group, and do little things separately when you want to. You can come together whenever you want. So what's the key differences really with cruising versus land holidays? So we've already said that you can travel to multiple places and you unpack once. So cruising will generally be for a range of different days. You can do some very short cruises of a couple of nights, through to several weeks, even world cruises. So depending on how long your cruise is, depends on how many ports you're going to see. Also where in the world you're going as well, depending on where those ports are and how far they're spaced out. But generally, you're going to wake up in a new country or destination every day with only unpacking once. You're having a traditional land holiday with a multi-destination. You've got to repack, travel, flight, get to where you're going. On a cruise, you simply just lay back, enjoy the journey, and get off where and when you want to. It's much easier to budget because you know what's included. You can get your flight included cruises with all of your transfers in, any pre-stay land accommodation if needed, depending where you're flying to and from and when the cruise departs. You know your food's included, you know most of your entertainment's included, accommodations included. So from the offset, you know exactly what you're spending. Like any holiday, you can always add more. You can add more excursions. You can add drinks packages if they're not included. It's really stress-free logistics as well. Everything can be taken care of in a cruise package. So you don't have to worry about the transfers yourself. You don't have to worry about, as I said, the pre-flight or the pre-cruise hotels. And once you're on that ship, everything can be taken care of for you. Getting in and out different country, getting in and out different towns, cities, excursions you're going to do. Everything is managed on board the cruise. There's lots of people available to be able to help you with that. You have an endless supply of entertainment and food options on board a ship, and depending on the size of the ship, will depend on how much entertainment and food you have. Your big Broadway type shows, all the different clubs and things that happen on board, most of those are going to be included, but it really is ship specific and cruise line specific as to what is and is not included. There'll be lots of food options as well. So you'll have, depending on the ship, you may have buffet restaurants, which are open all day. Some will be open 24/7. You'll have access to specialty restaurants if you like. Some of those may be payable, some of them may not. They may be included in your package. But there's a lot of different options on board. There's some street food options on some cruises, pizza places, taco places. There's so much to choose from. And even within a one restaurant, like a buffet restaurant, there's a really wide variety of food. So whatever your dietary requirements are, then there's always something available for you. So let's take a little look at the cabins and the different types of cabins, kind of what they're best for and who they really suit. So we have at the kind of entry level is the inside cabin. So an inside cabin, as the name suggests, is based inside the ship. It doesn't have any windows, so you can't kind of see out of it, although some these days do have wide screens, which are kind of like projecting from cameras outside. But generally, you're not going to have a view outside at all. They are great if you want to have a kind of a pitch black cabin at night. When you turn off the lights, if you struggle sleeping and you like a nice dark room, then an inside cabin is going to be perfect for you. They're usually the best value cabins as well because they're the most basic. They are fantastic value, and if you are content with being able to live with an inside cabin and you prefer to spend all of your time out on the ship and not inside the cabin, then they're a really great option. And they make cruising affordable. Next, you're going to have an ocean view cabin. So an ocean view cabin is going to have a window view. Now the window probably won't open, and there's not going to be a balcony to it. It's just going to be like a porthole that you can see through. So it's great if you want to look out and get a bit of daylight kind of coming in, but you still want that secured cabin without a balcony if you have any kind of really young family members and you just want to have that peace of mind, really. Next, you're going to have a balcony cabin. And a balcony is beautiful for that nice private outdoor space. Wake up in the morning with a cup of coffee or have a nice glass of Prosecco or champagne kind of as you're kind of waiting for your evening to start. On certain cruises, it's strongly suggested you get a balcony cabin, be it like a nice Caribbean cruise where there's a lot to look at, Norwegian fjords, that type of thing. Kind of a balcony cabin is just perfect for those types of destinations. And you can get a suite. So a suite is going to have lots of extra space in it. You're going to have additional perks on board when you're booking, depending which cruise line. So you could get like preferential boarding times and debarkation times. And you're going to get like a much larger separate living area with separate bedrooms. You can get family and interconnecting cabins, which are obviously ideal for larger groups and larger families. It's worth noting as well that on some balcony cabins, depending who you're cruising with, they may have like window locks on them. So a balcony cabin is going to have the French doors, the French sliding doors that you're used to. You can get those where they lock, and the locks are nice and high out of reach of children if you want to. But if that is a concern to you, then just check before you book that the cruise line or the ship has that facility on board on the cabin that you're booking. So next, let's take a look at cruise ship bed types and what you expect with those. So first, you're going to have like twin beds or a double bed. And a twin or a double, a double is going to be two twins pushed together. You then have like a queen or a king bed, which again is going to be 2 twin bases with a larger kind of mattress on top. So it's like one large bed. For the additional people in the room from those configurations, you're generally going to have a sofa bed, which can pull out and double up as a bed. It depends kind of what ship you're on as to if the beds are, or the sofa beds are small and intended for only children, or if they're larger full-size sofa beds. So just because you see a sofa bed and it says it'll take 4 people doesn't mean it's actually suitable for 4 adults. So that's always worth checking. You'll then get like a Pullman bed, and a Pullman bed folds down from the ceiling or from the wall, and is a full-size single bed. They do have sometimes a bit of a weight limit on them, so it is worth considering if that's going to be an issue for you guys or not. But generally, they will take an average size adult. And you'll then have bunk beds, depending upon kind of the configuration of the ship, where they're fixed in obviously 2-level kind of single beds. So where these cabins are based, you'll hear people, if you spoke to anybody who's cruised, you'll hear them talking about the best place to be and the best kind of floor to be on. So first let's look at kind of deck locations and where you want to be choosing your cabin. They're not the same, they change kind of on every ship, but there's a few general rules to follow just to help you out with it. So the prime space, especially if you are new, which is obviously what this podcast is aimed at, if you haven't cruised before, the safest bet to go is going to be kind of midships. So the front of the ship is going to be called forward. The after or the rear of the ship is going to be called the aft. Section in the middle is called the midships. Now that will change a little bit. Some will break it up more into forward mid and aft mid. And I'll break them up depending on the size of the ship, but generally, if you think of those 3 zones, now the midship is a place where you're going to get the most stability from. Because if you think of a ship on a large pivot point, and the center of the ship is a pivot, as the ship moves over the roll of the waves, and there's not a huge amount of ship roll, it does depend what the weather's going to be like, obviously. I kind of imagine the ship rolling, the center of the ship will move the least, with the forward and the aft pivoting on a much greater angle than the center moves. So if you're not sure if you're going to be seasick, if you know that you are susceptible to travel sickness, then kind of aiming midships is certainly the safest place for you guys to be. And the closer to the center, the better. You then have kind of your higher decks and your lower decks. So your higher decks are going to give you much better views. They're going to be closer to the pools, closer to those outdoor activities, but you will get the effect of more motion. The lower decks are going to offer you a bit of a smoother ride, and it can often be quieter as well because you don't have the noise of the pools and everything else above you. It's also worth considering as well with the bars on board. They'll be open till quite late. They'll have nightclubs and dance floors. They'll have really busy kind of zones. So when you're choosing your position of your cabin, make sure that you're just checking the ship plans or the deck plans to make sure that you're not going to be right above the nightclub, unless you're somebody who loves going to nightclubs and you love the noise, you love partying, you love getting out there, in which case you're going to be in a nightclub until it closes, so it's not going to bother you at all. So it's always worth just kind of double checking what is above and below you. If you're not sure, try and go for a deck where there is cabins above you and cabins below you. And that should give you quite a good kind of guide and steer that you're going to be in the right place with not too much noise. Also consider being near lifts, and especially for the inside cabins. Being near a lift is really convenient, especially if you may have some accessibility kind of concerns. But it's also going to be noisy. It's going to be a central point where people are coming up at night, going off to bed, where they're walking down in the morning. So you will have that natural traffic going past you that you just need to kind of consider. So let's look at some different kind of ship sizes now. So as you'd expect, you've got all different ship sizes. You have small ships, which are kind of usually more of a luxury feel, nice like boutique-y feel about them. You'll have mid-sized ships, which kind of bridge the gap pretty well between the smaller and the larger ships. And you're going to have kind of like mega or large, stroke even now mega-sized ships, which have got an awful lot on them as well as lots and lots of people. So the mega ships are going to be great for kind of thrill-packed floating cities. You've probably seen lots of images around of things like the Royal Caribbean Icon of the Seas, which is absolutely enormous and has little kind of neighborhoods on board of different themed neighborhoods with lots and lots of things to do. So if you like lots of different food choices, if you like lots of different entertainment, you like being social and getting out and about, they are absolutely perfect. The size of the ship means that it is a lot less susceptible to weather. So the ship rolling things is going to be a lot more controllable on a ship of that size. All ships today really kind of have stabilizers on board, and they're very, very effective. The downsides of a mega-sized ship is going to be you won't always be able to get in and out of small ports as well either. So if you've got kind of narrow entrances or shallow entrances that small ships get into, those large mega-sized ships usually have to go into the larger ports. Probably going to be commercial ports, because that's what can handle that size of ship. So you might miss out on some of those views and some of those nice small port. The crowds on board a ship, kind of you'll really feel it on boarding day, when you're trying to get off the ship to go to destinations and ports, and it can be very, very busy. So if you want all the benefits of the large ship, you want lots and lots of food options, lots of entertainment, a great social space. Then you need to be able to put up with, you have to queue a few times, and getting on and off is going to be a bit of a plan. Once you're off, great, enjoy it. Once you're back on again, great, enjoy it. But just bear that in mind. So kind of mid-sized ships, you've got the best of both worlds really. You've got lots of variety in food options, in bar options as well. Kind of a good supply of entertainment, but it's not too overwhelming. The mid-sized ship is great really for kind of, it suits couples, it suits solo travelers, and probably older families. Then you've got like your smaller ships. And your smaller ships, as we've said, will get into some much smaller ports, where the larger ships just cannot navigate through. So you will see an entirely different type of cruise to what you get on a large stroke mega ship. You're going to get a lot more personable service. The people on board, they have less people to serve, less crowds to manage, and you have a lot more of a quiet personal service. People will become to know your name. They're gonna they're gonna know what you like. They're gonna know kind of what you're looking for. Smaller ships often are great for foodies. They focus very well on finer dining. And they're great for like culture seekers, getting into those different places, and quiet luxury. So where can you cruise? What's the different types of destinations to go? So one of my personal favorites is the Caribbean. You've got great beaches, fantastic sunshine, a totally different pace of life, and they are fantastic for winter breaks. So the peak season in the Caribbean is going to be around about kind of January to March, about there. November, end of rainy season roughly, coming back into April, May again. May is touching back into the kind of rainy season stroke kind of winter time. So yeah, the Jan to March is the best time to go and see it. As you'd expect, that's the peak time. That's going to be where the higher cost is. If you want to get round and see those, but your budget's a little bit more constrained, then consider going off peak. So you've got Mediterranean. Mediterranean is quite close to where we're obviously based, and you've got great kind of, it's great for culture, sunshine at the right time, and there's some fantastic kind of world famous ports and lots of places to go and explore around the Mediterranean. You've got your Norwegian fjords, which is fantastic for kind of summer scenery, really, really grand open views and spaces, and they're just fantastic to look at. You have to go do Norwegian fjords at some point. You'll have epic waterfalls, fantastic wildlife. You have places like Alaska. You'll see all the whales and those types of wildlife type of adventures. You can get around Asia, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, around China. It opens up so much of the world to go and explore. And Japan has been really, really popular of late. And a cruise is a fantastic way to be able to get around, see all those key towns, those key cities you want to get into, without having to do all the long treks and packing up and think about how you're traveling around it. So a cruise is an excellent option for Japan. From the UK here, we have a transatlantic cruise. So they are going to be crossings that go from the UK across to the US. They are going to be 6+ days kind of crossing the Atlantic, and they are fantastic if you love a cruise. They're great with sea days. You get to make the most of the ship, be it the spa days, be it the entertainment, just a whole vibe of being on board a ship. When you can combine a transatlantic crossing with some Caribbean options, depending who the provider is. But you'll generally, if you're going to do the transatlantic bit, you'll get less port stops on the other side, even if you have like a 2-week cruise, and you're going to get less port stops on that other end because you're spending so much time out at sea. Yeah, and then of course you have world cruises, and world cruises are a fantastic option, going up from anywhere from 90 days kind of up, depending kind of how you want to define a world cruise. And they take in some incredible bucket list destinations right around the world. You can do part of a world cruise if you want to. So they'll break it down into chunks and sections, depending if there's certain parts of the world you haven't seen and you'd like to do more. Or if you have the chance, absolutely do a world cruise, cut off from life, go and take half a year off, great free time and travel, and go and see everything in one big epic trip. You only have to pack once. You can take as much on board, especially if you're departing from the UK, take as much on board as you need, and it's an entire just different way of life. It's well worth doing if you have the time. You also have polar kind of expedition cruises, where they're going to go to the Arctic, the Antarctic. You're going to get round and see a lot of the wildlife up there that you can't see anywhere else. And kind of expedition cruising has been becoming more and more popular lately. Again, probably what's been seen on television, but it's a fantastic way to get out, go and see the ice flows, go and explore those parts of the world that you would never ever normally get a chance to go and see. And you don't have a hotel in the center of the Antarctic, you can't go and see it, but you can absolutely go and access these areas by a cruise ship. Not quite the center of the Antarctic, but you know what I mean. So let's take a little look at kind of where the cruise brands sit. So we'll begin at kind of like mass market cruising, looking for the majority of the market. We're going to have kind of Royal Caribbean. They are big, bold, full of fun cruise ships, perfect for families and multi-generationals. Although I know adult couples who will go cruising on them. Then you kind of have kind of like MSC cruises, which are a bit more budget friendly. Kind of a European style type cruise, although they do cruise all over the world. You'll have Norwegian Cruise Line, kind of similar again to Royal Caribbean. Ships are not quite so big, but they still offer lots of flexible dining. They're great for solo friendly kind of travels. Those three cruises they're all pretty similar. They're great for families and multi-generational stuff, kind of depending on your budget point and kind of what you want to look at. You've then got premium cruises. So P&O is kind of on a cusp of this, where we've got some of the older ships are maybe a bit more, they're smaller, but a bit more of the more traditional kind of British cruising. The newer ships, Iona, Avia, they're definitely coming into that premium line. They are catered for British guests. They have a great variety of British food, British drinks on board. One of the only cruise lines with a good British plug socket on board, so you can take your hairdryer and it's going to work. And they are very, very popular amongst kind of British cruisers. You have Princess Cruises, which is an American line, and it's probably going to be another level up from P&O there a little bit. They're a lot more aimed at kind of enrichment and more destination focused. You then got kind of celebrity cruises, which is a higher end of the premium market. Very stylish, modern ships, excellent dining on board, and they do some fantastic itineraries as well as around Japan area. We're then going to kind of move into your luxury kind of cruising, and these are slightly smaller ships. and they focus on having a lot more included in them, kind of generally. So Oceania, having the finest food at sea. It's a good, calm atmosphere, fantastic food. They have kind of Michelin-starred kind of chefs who've really done a lot of work on their menus. They focus their expeditions going around exploring food in different destinations, different locations. The chefs will come out with you on those excursions, and they really deep dive into the food origins, where it comes from, how they kind of buy locally and source locally. It's a real kind of foodies cruise, kind of Oceania, definitely. And you have Region Seven Seas, which is a true, real kind of all-inclusive luxury experience. So they have everything in. They have your drinks in. They'll have your excursions included, all of your food included. Yeah, there's kind of lots and lots to do on there. You have Seabourn. Seabourn is a very personalised, kind of intimate and very polished experience. It's a great luxury cruise line. And then have Viking Ocean Cruise, kind of a very cultural, elegant, kind of an adults only kind of luxury cruise kind of marketplace. You're then going to have things like Cunard as well, which is a lot more of a traditional kind of experience on a cruise. Although Queen Anne, their newer ship, is now kind of changing a little bit. It still hasn't moved too far from the old kind of setup and the traditional formalities that they've had. And we're then going to look at your ultra luxury cruises and kind of like your expedition kind of hybrids. So you're going to have explorer journeys. They have really elegant new smaller ships, again part of the MSC brand, but they're a fantastic experience on board. You'll have Silversea, again they kind of their top level expeditionary cruise. Ritz-Carlton on their yacht collection. And we keep going up. You have Four Seasons yachts are coming out soon, and these really are kind of the very high end of the ultra luxury market. So what's generally included and what isn't included in a cruise? So included on all cruises are going to be your accommodation. It's going to be your main meals. It's going to be your main entertainment, and kind of like kids clubs as well have been included on most of the family ships. What's not generally included is going to be things like alcohol, Wi-Fi, gratuities, excursions, and specialty dining, and those things you're going to have to pay extra for. Now, it all depends who you cruise with as to what's included and what isn't. Lots of companies these days, especially within kind of the mass market and the premium market, they offer packages. So you can just take out one package that will include all of your alcohol, your Wi-Fi, gratuities, excursions, and specialty dining. So some will just include some of those things, and you'll have to buy the rest. So those are kind of the finer details that once you've sorted out generally where you want to go, and then kind of what ship and cruise line is going to suit you best, then you have to get into the nitty-gritties of understanding what you get and what isn't, and what the extras are going to be before you're looking to book, because those things are going to add up kind of quite a bit on top if you're not expecting them. So how to choose your first cruise. So we've looked at cruise brands, cruise ships, cabins, kind of the decks and where you're going to be, kind of what to avoid and what not to avoid. But firstly, yeah, you're going to want to choose the kind of the destination you want to go, either destination or ship experience. If you're looking for the ultra luxury, then your ships, there's a lot less ships of those kind of doing those and serving that marketplace. So where they're going to go is going to be a bit more restricted. So have to decide: are you on about the experience you want, or is the destination more important? Once you have worked that out, let's say the destination's more important, we can then filter down a list of cruise ships and kind of cruise brands who are going to best serve that destination, again based upon the type of experience that you're looking for. It could be a luxury, it could be a premium cruise, but we'll look at kind of where you want to go first. So kind of the time frame to book for the first timer. I've kind of touched on earlier that you can do a short-term cruise from just a few days right the way through to 200 and something odd days on a world cruise. Kind of a 5 to 7 night is a nice sweet spot for your first cruise. Now we say it's a nice sweet spot. because if you don't like it, if it isn't for you, then you haven't got long to go before you're coming back off again. You might not like the first day, and I actually spoke to somebody kind of this week who stepped foot on their very first cruise, hated the first day because of the queues. They went for a kind of a mega size ship, had a good night's sleep, woke up next day, loved it from that point forward. So just 1 or 2 days isn't really long enough to know if it's going to be right for you. You need to try it, experience everything on board, and then just go with an open mind. I'd say if you're thinking about doing the shorter term cruise, like a 2 or 3 night cruise, those are generally kind of party cruises or booze cruises. So they're great if you know your cruise, you want to go off with a few mates. They'll generally leave from the UK, and they're going to touch 1 or 2 ports, kind of around France area, that type of thing, and then head straight back again. So you'll get 1 or 2 nights away. So the problem with that is that you're not really experiencing what a true cruise is. You're going to have an atmosphere on board, which is a party atmosphere. That's not the normal longer cruise atmosphere. Whilst you do have pubs on board, you have nightclubs on board, it's not quite the same experience. So I would kind of steer yourself away from a 2 or 3 night cruise for your very first cruise. Yes, about 5-7 night one is a nice sweet spot. You're going to need to choose if you want to do a kind of a no-fly cruise or a fly cruise. So fly cruises will get you out the UK to obviously anywhere in the world. If you want to go and do those further away destinations, then a fly cruise is going to be absolutely essential. If you want to get out to some warmer destinations like the Med and spend more time there, then a fly cruise is essential. If you can, as we said, like a transatlantic cruise, but you'd usually fly one way. So you'd either cruise out there, fly back, or vice versa. You can do what we call ex-UK cruises. So cruises that depart from the UK, and they'll depart from generally Southampton's probably one of the more common spots. They'll also go from Tilbury, Liverpool, kind of around the UK in a few different places. They're great if you don't like to fly, but your destinations are a lot more limited. So you can get down to the Canary Islands on a 12 to 14 night cruise. But otherwise, if it's going to be kind of like a 7 night cruise, then you're just going to be kind of touching France stroke Spain, a couple of those ports and coming back again. You can go up and go and do a Norwegian voyage from the UK, or you can do like some British Isles cruises and going right around the British Isles. They can stop up in the Shetland Islands and even take port stops in Ireland. I might not interest you at first. When you start to think they're going to see places that you generally wouldn't normally see, you're going to want to think about and try and match your vibe to the type of ship. So it's going to be, are you a thrill seeker? Are you a foodie? Do you want relaxation? Do you want luxury? And that's going to really, really impact how you feel about the cruise that you're on. So you need to be honest with yourself about what you're really looking for in that. You absolutely want to use a cruise expert. As I said, I'm a clear accredited cruise expert, but just make sure you talk to a cruise expert because it can be really overwhelming. Your first 1, 2, 3 cruises can be an awful lot. And what you'll find is generally once you've done the first cruise and you've established that you like it, you're probably going to be hooked on cruising going forward because lots and lots of people are. And you'll do cruise after cruise after cruise, seeing all different places, destinations, cruise lines. I would say don't just stick to one cruise line only. And I know that cruise lines offer great loyalty programs to be able to get you to rebook, but also there's some cruise lines that will match other companies' kind of loyalty programs. So you can get those same benefits on board other cruises. The reason I'd say that to you is that you don't know what you don't know. So if you haven't been on board a different type of ship, you really don't know what you're missing. So I would encourage you to try multiple cruise lines, even if you had your first cruise and you didn't like it. Try a different one. Talk to a cruise expert, explain what you didn't like, explain the drawbacks for yourself, and try a different cruise ship. But a good cruise expert will absolutely match you to a cruise that is going to be really, really, really close to what you want. And it might be you need a few cruises just to really home in on what is absolutely right for you. But your first cruise, go and talk to an expert. Nobody will mind giving you their time to help you choose that right cruise. So covering off a few kind of quick questions that we get asked. A common one is, will I get seasick? I would say that if you know you're going to be seasick, or if you get travel sick, you still can cruise. You still can take seasickness tablets, and they're best to kind of start 24 hours before if you're going to take seasick tablets. They do accumulate in your body, sickness pills. So if you get on board and you start taking them when you feel sick and you say seasick tablets don't work for you, that may be right. Take them earlier and continue to take them for your trip. You can have some side effects with seasick tablets, and there are all kind of alternatives available. The majority ships, as I said, they do have pretty good stabilizers on them, so it's quite uncommon for seasickness to be around for a long time. Also, you do get used to the sea, so unless you are really, really bad seasick all the time and you're never ever going to get used to it, then you will adapt to it. And it might take a couple of days, but it will get better. As your body adapts to the motion, gets used to it, then the seasickness generally fades away. You can take other things if you don't like tablets. Ginger biscuits are absolutely fantastic for seasick. They do work. And you can also get things like seasick bands and things as well, which will go on your wrist and just help you to kind of get rid of those symptoms for you. So people also ask, kind of, what do I wear? Every ship will give you a kind of their formalities and their dress codes on board. You are fine to be casual, kind of swimwear around most of the swim zones. There will be some cruise line that will allow you to wear swimwear, nothing too revealing, kind of in certain parts of the ship. But generally, you'll be needing to cover up kind of as you go and eat. That doesn't mean you have to be formally dressed. Just a t-shirt, pair of shorts will be absolutely fine to go into kind of most of the dining halls in the daytime. Other ships will have certain dress codes in place. Some ships will have formal nights, and formal nights will require like a ball gown or a tuxedo, kind of a black tie, to be able to go and participate with that formal event. But you still don't have to participate in that formal event if you don't want to. You can still wear smart casual in the evening. There will be other bars on board the ship, almost certainly in most cases, but again, check before you go. Other bars, restaurants, and areas on the ship where you can go where you don't have to be as formal. Some people dress up and wear suits all day long, and they just don't want to wear it when they go away on a holiday. I don't mind putting a dinner suit on. I quite like it. But occasionally, I think it's nice to kind of dress up kind of once or twice, and that's how I feel about it, really. People ask me, can I bring your own drinks on board? So it's really cruise line dependent. So check the T's and C's. Most will probably allow you to take like a bottle of wine on board per person. Obviously, cruise ships sell alcohol. They need to be able to control how much people are drinking on board as well. If you're bringing a few bottles of spirits on, then there's a really good chance that you're going to be drinking kind of too much, and they can't prevent you from drinking what they don't know. So if you do get too drunk on board, they will stop serving you, really for everybody's safety, especially being at sea. So they do control, for lots of good reasons, the amount of alcohol that comes on board and where it comes from. If you're out on an excursion and you buy some local alcohol you want to take with you, that'll be absolutely fine. Bring it on board. Hand it in at the entry point. They will tag it. They will kind of put it away for you and give it back to you when you get off board again. So you still can experience all those regional kind of different tastes. But as I say, you're not going to be able to consume it on board. Some may allow you, some may not. Really just check out before you go and you turn up a lot of alcohol. People ask if they can handle different dietary needs. Absolutely. I don't know of a cruise that can't. I think they're really, really diverse in the different food types and options that they handle and that they offer. And yeah, if you have anything specific, just inform them in advance so they can accommodate it. Talk to a cruise expert. They will have direct links to agent support lines and the people who can answer those questions and get you an affirmative answer. So So that is really, again, where a cruise expert will absolutely help you. Other people ask, will I be bored? If you're bored, you are locked yourself in your cabin, because there is just so much to do on board a cruise ship. Even the quieter cruise ships probably have more events and activities on board than you can get through in 2 weeks of cruising. You take into account that you're also going to be doing excursions, getting off the ship every now and again. Take into account you have to sleep at some point. You will seldom get to experience all the different things on board. And ships are really good at keeping people active and engaged if you want to be. If you don't want to be, you're absolutely left alone to do your own thing. But they're really good at putting on events in the daytime, communicating out to the ship, different clubs that they'll do, different classes that they'll do. And again, if there's things that you like to do, so say you want to learn to cook, or some cruises will have cocktail making sessions. If there's certain things that you want to experience and want to do, then talk to a cruise expert. They can do all the hard work for you, and they can make sure that they're going to pair you with the right cruise that you want to do. If you want to do Broadway shows and productions, then make sure you get on those bigger ships. And again, a cruise expert can help to align you up with the right ship you have. If you have young kids, families, kind of even up to teens, there are a lot of ships out there, Royal Caribbeans, NCLs, MSCs. They are really good with lots of activities on board, tons and tons of things to do. You'll be amazed when you first step foot on those larger size ships, and especially on the mega size ships, what you can actually do. You could probably spend a month on board and still really not experience all of the ship. So yeah, I just want to have a quick recap on what we've talked about, really. So cruises, they are a lot more flexible than a land stay. You will get to see a lot more. You will get to do a lot more. You don't have all the aggro of packing and traveling. And ships are getting more and more luxurious than they've ever been before. They're getting bigger. They're getting more advanced. The stabilizers on board are a lot more advanced. The experiences on board are a lot more developed than they've ever been. So it is an amazing time to go cruising. There's also a lot of cruise ships that are on order. There is a lot. There's something like 30 or 40 ships kind of on order coming in the next couple of years. There's a lot to go and see and do. So even if you've cruised for years before and you're thinking, we've had enough of it, there's so much new stuff to go and explore. So cruising really never gets old. You can cruise anywhere, absolutely anywhere, from Caribbean to the Antarctic. There is a cruise and a destination for you, whatever it is you're looking to do. They have a huge range of accommodation options, from inside cabins. They have bunk beds, right the way through to suites, butler service, kind of whatever you want on board. Even up on some of those ultra luxury cruises, you have almost like a 2-to-1 cruiser to staff member ratio. So some of them have very, very high levels of service, depending on what you're looking for. To start with one point that I mentioned earlier, one of the most important things to you, and go and talk to a cruise expert. They'll guide you through the rest. They'll help you. They're going to want you to have an awesome time because they love cruising themselves. And yeah, just put yourself in their hands and you won't be sorry that you did. So absolutely. So guys, that is my rather long, as it turns out, overview into first-time cruises. I hope you found it helpful and beneficial to you guys. Please make sure that you are following, and subscribing, and enter in the comments below any questions you have. So if you want me to cover off a certain topic, if you have any questions about this podcast or any others, please drop it in the comments, and we'll do our very best to come back to you and include those comments in our future podcasts. So thanks for following, and I'll catch you soon. Bye for now.